Welcome to Sports from the Couch.
I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
With your host, Mike Mercado.
Players cannot stand him. Coaches cannot stand him. Most importantly, the fans can't stand him.
Brought to you by Mercado Airwaves.
I'm gonna say it once, and hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a disaster waiting to happen.
That is so bad, that is absolutely brutal.
Welcome in, friends, to another episode of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day. We have a busy show this Monday, August 10th, 2020 in the beautiful city of Chicago. Before we get to all that, let's take care of some housekeeping notes. Follow me on Twitter at Mike M Media, on Instagram at Mike Mercado Media, and you can be interactive with the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Give us a like, rate, and review us wherever you get your favorite podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google, at Mercado Airwaves. It really helps us grow the brand. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. You can become a producer of the show at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. There you can also get our interviews ad-free and before anyone else with athletes and celebrities at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We even got swag, so show off your favorite podcasts during the summer with all the selections that we have at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. All right, so the first thing I want to get into today comes to us from ESPN.com. Sources, Power 5 conferences talking about no fall football. Commissioners of the Power 5 Conference held an emergency meeting on Sunday as there is growing concern among college athletic officials that the upcoming football season and other fall sports can't be played because of the coronavirus pandemic, sources told ESPN. And the article continues, no major decisions were made on Sunday night, but multiple sources in several Power 5 conferences have told ESPN the commissioners talked about trying to collaborate if their respective presidents do decide to cancel or postpone fall sports. Several sources have indicated to ESPN that Big Ten presidents, following a meeting on Saturday, are ready to pull the plug on its fall sports season. And they wanted to gauge if commissioners and university presidents and chancellors from the other Power 5 conferences, the ACC, Big 12, Pac-12, and SEC, will fall in line with them. And we continue on. The sources told ESPN that a vast majority of Big Ten presidents have indicated that they would vote to postpone football season, hopefully to the spring. A Big Ten official confirmed to ESPN that no official vote took place during Saturday's meeting. Quote, it doesn't look good, one Power 5 athletic director said. And you can read the rest of that article on ESPN.com. Power 5 conferences talking about no fall football. And just to give you guys an indication of where we're at, I simply Googled COVID cases in the United States. And this is just what I've seen. I know a lot of people have different opinions about the pandemic and COVID and all this, but these are just the facts that are given to us. And you know, that's how I am with you guys. Here on Sports from the Couch, I'm here to give you the facts and then what I think from what's been given to us. 5.5 million confirmed cases. 19.9 confirmed worldwide. California, Florida, Texas, New York, Georgia all seem to be the hotspots. And then obviously Illinois and a bunch of different states around also with some high numbers. What does this all mean? It means that this has been obvious from day one. Are people now shocked there might not be college football? We've been telling you that there won't be college football if we don't start acting right in this country, here in the United States. I know a lot of people want to attack people and want to make this grand notion to make themselves feel better, to put themselves on a higher pedestal. But simply put, if you don't care about human life, if you don't care about science, if all you care is about your entertainment, the only way you were ever going to get any type of entertainment was by trying to control this pandemic, trying to control these cases. And we really didn't do that in this country. Yet, professional sports found a way to get started because they're pros. They're getting paid. There is no BS line. They can tell us it's about health, but we all see through it. And we're okay with that because they're being compensated in a right, proper way for the most part. The reason why most people with a conscience, or at the very least, don't have this hypocritical thought of saying free market, capitalism, we have to do it this way, lace up your bootstraps and trying to make the money. And these universities, these huge institutes are making billions of dollars and are going to now risk Kids. Overgrown kids, they might be. Super strong kids, they might be. But kids. 18, 19, 20-year-olds to play for them. And don't think most of these kids are going to go to the pros. Now, the one thing that again, being honest with you guys, I'm not here to just give you an agenda. I do believe that chances are, if all things being equal, if all things being the way they should be, if they are going to these universities to play in and they were getting paid and all this, I'm assuming that they would have better benefits of seeing doctors, seeing trainers, being isolated. I get that. I think even Trevor Lawrence brought that up. But that is a very small thing to offer somebody in this grand scheme of, are you going to keep me safe? Sure, you should have all the tools to keep us safe. If let's just use a Tennessee. If you're the Volunteers in the SEC, you should have enough money to make sure that you're covering all COVID testing, covering meals, and paying these players, right? But then let's say since we're not paying them, you have in good conscience that they should be able to take care of you because they have adequate equipment and resources to do it. But that's no guarantee, is it? I mean, honestly, do you really think that they're going to take every precaution to keep these kids safe? Every university? And that's the thing. It's not about the health of the student, the wellness of the student. It's about liability. And the fact that it took these universities this long to get to their lawyers, to get to this point, is crazy. It's August 10th. Professional sports are having a hard time doing this. And you were going to think collegiately they were going to find a way to do this? Stop it. We've already gone past this notion of student athlete. Do student athletes get some benefits? Of course. Of course. Just watch a real documentary. Talk to us here on the network. Good brother Alex over on the Good Brothers got a scholarship for college. He'll tell you. But talk to me about the revenue generated by these universities because of these players. And then tell me, is it fair? The output that they put into it, everything that they get back, which is what? Nothing? Because half of them don't make it to the league. And the percentage that does is still a percentage within a percentage. Education is important. Obviously, it's a great reward. That should be part of it. There's plenty of things. If Disney was offering people something, we would always think they're being a little stingy because they can always offer you a little more and it won't hurt them. So in this case, I'm not surprised. We might not get a college football in the fall. I told you, for the most part, I don't know if our country has earned sports in a very general kind of sense, but we're at this point. We're seeing what's happening with the Cardinals. So it hasn't been flawless. In fact, it's been very muddy in Major League Baseball. The NBA and the NHL have found a way to make it work in a bubble, quote unquote, more of a campus, but they're millionaires, grown adults. You're going to have 19-year-olds play college football and not have students there either and still not pay them? Look, man, I get the romanticism of it. I get it. Collegiate athlete, trying to get an education, playing for the state or the school he grew up at, his parents went to, his siblings went to, maybe his uncles, his aunts, it does all that. Maybe she went there to play sports and her dad did, or her mom, like all the scenarios you can play out. That's wonderful. But it's still a business at this point in 2020 when they're making that much money. And there's these many confirmed cases and you're still not getting paid. Come on. Like, I understand. How was this ever going to happen? And then cynically speaking, they didn't want to pay any liability claims. They didn't want to pay any type of crazy premiums. So I would be surprised if we get fall football. I wouldn't be surprised if we get spring football. Let me know your thoughts on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk and at Mike M Media. This Saturday night, August 15, 2020, at the UFC Apex Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, we get to see the third part of this trilogy of Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier for the UFC Heavyweight Championship. DC versus Stipe 3. Super fun. A pretty fun card. Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera is the co-main event. So that's going to be really interesting. And then we also got Junior Dos Santos versus Rosenstruck. So it's going to be some interesting fights. Even John Dodson has found its way onto this card. But we'll talk a little bit more about this later in the week on Sports from the Couch, either on the Wednesday edition or even on the Saturday edition before the huge fight. But the UFC has put out some bangers over the last few months, especially during the COVID pandemic. But this one seems to be the most under the radar fight Some of it, I think, has to deal with DC talking about retirement post-fight. And then we had that report came out that Stipe will be fighting after this. At least he wants to. So if you're the UFC, what do you want to happen? I've been thinking about that a lot lately because you always have to take into mind when you're talking about fighting promotions, there's what the promotion wants, and then there's what happens. The promotion didn't want Ronda to lose to Holly Holm or to Amanda Nunes. The promotion wanted Paige Van Zandt to be a superstar. The sport and the promotion are two different things when it comes to what it wants and what happens. We know that. We know how marketing works. So what does the UFC want to happen here? Does it want the commentator and one of the All-American guys in DC to win and maybe come back for a Jones fight? Or do they want the firefighter who's been the UFC heavyweight champion, arguably the greatest UFC heavyweight champion of all time? Do they want him to win and go against Francis or John Jones? Because this is also not just about this fight. This is about the fight after this one. Is it Francis? Is it John Jones? I mean, we could go right now and just look at the UFC heavyweight rankings, okay? We'll go to rankings, even though you guys know I don't really buy into the UFC rankings. But if we just look right here and we go to the heavyweight division, we have DC, Ngannou, Curtis Blades. Is Curtis Blades going to get another chance at Francis Ngannou for a number one contendership? We got Junior Dos Santos versus Rosenstruck. Is that probably the number one contenders fight on this card for either Stipe or DC? I don't think so. Because without any type of crowds, I'm assuming you want some type of pay-per-view generator. I don't think that's it. I mean, Alistair Overeem, I don't see it. Not at heavyweight. Unless somebody comes up from light heavyweight, which would be Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos, and, of course, John Jones. I mean, Anthony Smith would be interesting, but I think he's found the groove over at light heavyweight. We're going around in circles because I don't want to make my official pick yet, but the real question is what happens next, at least in this conversation. And I think it comes down to John Jones. Francis Ngannou is the easy answer because he's already in the division. But it's, do you want to put Jones against Ngannou? Do you want Ngannou versus DC? Do you want Ngannou versus Stipe? You think you have your Mike Tyson, so you want to put the belt on him, or you want him to have a legitimate shot at the belt. So that would be really interesting to see how that ends up playing out, is what happens next. They're not really playing ball with John Jones. And honestly, John Jones, arguably the greatest fighter of all time, is holding up the light heavyweight division. Hasn't fought in forever, disputing with the UFC about money and whatnot. And I get it, like, get what you're worth. Even though you don't have to like the guy. I personally don't like what he does outside of here, but strictly speaking of fighting, like, he is the best, especially in his division, his weight class. But it's held it up. I would like to see Thiago Santos or Corey Anderson or Anthony Smith or Dominic Reyes fight for an interim belt and see John go up to heavyweight. Make him excited about something. I would love to eventually see Israel Adesanya get up and fight John at some point. But John's only going to get bigger. Israel's only going to get bigger. And all of that, all of these scenarios are playing out off of one fight that happens this Saturday. And that's DC versus Stipe. I've interviewed a lot of people from the UFC, Bellator, World Series of Fighting. A lot of people. These two gentlemen are so good, are so beloved within the community, yet don't get the same type of mainstream love. That this kind of fight isn't going to get the blood boiling for a lot of people, get the juices flowing. But I promise you, it's going to be a badass fight. And I cannot wait to see what ends up happening, how it goes. But I will make my official pick for UFC 252 DC versus Stipe 3 at the UFC Apex Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, August 15, 2020. Later on this week on Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. But let me know your thoughts. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media. Follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happened on the diamond for our beloved Chicago teams. And we only have half the story because the Chicago Cubs didn't play any baseball this weekend. As we mentioned before, the St. Louis Cardinals series has been postponed. And even the Cardinals series with the one team that did play this weekend from Chicago, the White Sox, as the White Sox will be playing the Cardinals at the end of this coming up weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how all the testing goes. And now that we're a few days out from this past weekend, will this series happen? I have my doubts. And not just, I have my doubts because it's so hard to get everybody on the same page and to just get everything through the protocol so fast. But beyond all that, they got to play 49 games and they have to play 56 games in 49 days or something ridiculous. So, they better get to it. But let's go ahead and just a little talk about the White Sox. They ended up losing 2 straight to Cleveland, and this was after a win against Cleveland on Friday night. They lose in extras on Sunday Night Baseball. And, again, you're talking about injuries. Just really hurting this team. But more than anything, injuries hurting pitching staffs in 2020. And if you think about it, where we're at this point of the season, it would be the equivalent of actually getting through spring training. So a lot of these guys, a lot of these teams, it would be as if we were just starting in April. So I'm fascinated to see if this season ends up just being a war of attrition. Not even talent. But does a team simply win because their bullpen was a little bit healthier and they somehow found the way to not get COVID-19? I'm not sure. Injuries hurting the White Sox, tough series. They would be a playoff team, 16 teams making the playoffs. But we'll talk a little bit more in depth about the White Sox and the Cubs on the Wednesday edition of Sports from the Couch. But really fast, why don't we take a look at division leaders? We start off in the American League. The Yankees at 10-6 lead the American League East. The Rays at 8-8. The Orioles at 7-7. The Red Sox at 6-9. And the Blue Jays at 5-8. In the AL Central, you have the Twins at 10-6 leading the division, with the Tigers at 8-5, Cleveland at 10-7, the White Sox at 8-8, and the Royals at 7-10. Pretty good division in the AL Central, huh? The AL West, the Athletics, probably the best team in baseball right now, at 12-4 lead the division, and then a really interesting slow start for the rest of the division. The Rangers at 6-8, the Astros at 6-9. The Mariners at 6-11, and the Angels at 5-11. And we'll talk about those Astros in just a little bit. Moving on to the National League, in the NL East, the Marlins at 7-3 in first place because of winning percentage. You have the Braves at 11-6, the real first place team in that division. The Mets at 7-9, the Phillies at 4-6, and the Nationals at 4-7. In the National League Central, you have the Cubs at 10-3, who have not played all weekend. Going to be interested to see how they bounce back after a bad loss to Kansas City, but they seem to have been rolling a little bit. I want to see how they bounce back. The Brewers at 6-7. Christian Yelich is starting to bounce back just a little bit. You have the Reds at 7-9, the Cardinals at 2-3. I don't know how they're going to do it. And the Pirates at 3-13. Finally, in the NL West, you have the Rockies and the Dodgers both with 11 wins. The Rockies at 11-4, the Dodgers at 11-5, the Padres at 9-7, the Giants at 7-10, and the Diamondbacks at 6-10. The NL West and the AL Central have very deep divisions. And with this expanded playoffs, I thought it was going to be the National League Central that took advantage, but it looks like it might be the NL West and the AL Central that do so. And with that down, friends, all our main topics are in the books. Let's get to the quick notes. This comes to us from AP News. The Oakland Athletics and Houston Astros apparently were tired of playing nice. So following 2 quiet games at the Coliseum, true feelings seemed to come out and tempers flared Sunday, as the Athletics' 9th straight win was far overshadowed by what erupted in the 7th inning.
My goodness. Laureano gets hit again. That's the second time. Now he's pointing at Castellanos. It looked like a breaking ball.
Yeah. So there's Laureano. They're chirping at him from the dugout. And Laureano,
he doesn't get to whoever it was. Bregman got him first, looked like.
It was Dustin Garneau who grabbed Laureano and took him down.
That's Garneau, you're right.
So baseball just can't get out of its own way, right? Old habits die hard. You're living in a pandemic. You've seen what the Cardinals are going through, what the Marlins went through, and what's the next thing you want to do? You want to get into a fight. Did you not just see what happened with the Dodgers last week? Are you kidding me? Like, look, I get it. You want to whoop some dude's ass. Fine, that's all good. That's all dandy. He threw it at you. You've been thrown at 3 different times in this series. Cool. Now what? You're going to get suspended? Like, I get it. I totally get it. Wanting just being so heated. Man, baseball players got to do better sometimes. Cleveland starting pitcher Zach Plesac was sent home by the team for breaking COVID-19 protocols while on the road. According to The Athletic, Plesac left the team hotel to go out with friends Saturday night in Chicago following his start against the White Sox. The 25-year-old issued an apology via the team Sunday night. Quote, "I would like to apologize to my teammates, the entire Cleveland organization, and all of our fans for my actions Saturday evening." Plesac said in a statement, quote, "I realize I made a poor choice to leave the hotel, which broke protocols and could have endangered other people. I understand that in these times of uncertainty, I need to be more vigilant and responsible, and I am determined to earn my teammates' forgiveness and get back to work." End quote. Oh my God. Ozzie Guillen had some opinions about his former player, Nick Swisher. This comes to us from NBC Sports Chicago.
Oh my God, Nick, nobody can compare that with Nick Swisher. I hate Nick Swisher with my heart.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. You want to get into that a little more or no?
No, not really, but I think he hit me back. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I can't.
You guys just didn't get along. Didn't work out.
No, I know. I never talked to him. I was managing him, but I don't like the way his attitude was all fake.
Yeah.
And I don't like fake people.
All right. So he was only in with the White Sox for 1 year, and then he moved on.
It was 1 year too long.
Okay.
I gotta admit, Ozzie seems right about this one. Did you miss the NBA on TNT this past week? If you did, you missed Draymond Green donating $50,000 to the NBA.
And obviously Devin Booker, everybody knows him, but this is a team that's gone down there and gone 4-0 so far.
It's great to see Book playing well and Phoenix playing well, but get my man out of Phoenix. It's not good for him. It's not good for his career. Sorry, Chuck. But
wow.
They got to get Book out of Phoenix. I need my man to go somewhere where he can play great basketball all the time and win because he's that type of player.
Are you tampering?
Maybe.
Well, according to the NBA, he was, and this comes from Yahoo's Chris Haynes. Golden State Warriors forward Draymond Green will be fined $50,000 for his comments regarding Phoenix Suns guard Devin Booker. Sources tell Yahoo Sports. Draymond Green tweeted out a bunch of laughing emojis. It's funny. I mean, look, I know some people don't like Draymond Green. I know some people think he's annoying. I think this was actually really funny. I will piggyback off of what Draymond said, though, and I would love to see Devin Booker in a Bulls jersey. Can you imagine that stud over in the United Center? That'd be some good times. Draymond, if you're just giving away $50,000 for anything, we can use some over here. We love you, bro. Michigan State all the way. Let's go Warriors. But as a side note, Devin Booker's Phoenix Suns are 5-0 down in the Orlando bubble. And finally, this quick note comes from us from Sports Illustrated. In an entirely unexpected finish on Saturday, the shorthanded Clippers defeated the Portland Trailblazers after Damian Lillard missed 2 clutch free throws to take the lead. Lillard is shooting 88.6% from the free throw line this season and shoots 88.9% in his career. Him missing 2 clutch free throws in a row is rare. What ensued was Patrick Beverley mocking Dame time on the sidelines.
And Beverley reacting.
Lillard took exception to the mockery and clapped back during his post-game interview.
I did when my team needed it, which was a failure for me that I can accept. But asking me about Patrick Beverley, who I sent him home before at the end of a game. Paul George got sent home by me last year in the playoffs. So they know that the reason they reacting like that is because of what they expect from me, which is a sign of respect. And it just shows what I've done at a high clip more times than not. So I'm not offended by it. If anything, they should just tell you how much it hurt them to go through what I put them through in those situations previously.
But the argument didn't end there. After seeing Damian Lillard's comments, both Patrick Beverley and Paul George responded on Instagram. George was the first to respond, Quote, and you getting sent home this year, respect, and a smiley face and a fist emoji. Beverly then joked by saying Cancun on 3 with smiley faces. Lillard again took exception to Georgia's statements, telling him, quote, keep switching teams, ... running from the grind. You boys is chumps. Apparently, Paul George and Beverly and Damian Lillard are still arguing over an Instagram post from Bleacher Report. Oh, what an awesome story. First of all, Dame is a killer, so I'm all team all Dame all day. Like, that's my guy. But there's nothing better than watching pro grown men athletes argue on social media. That'll do it for us on this edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I've been your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media, on Instagram at Mike Mercado Media, and you can follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Like, rate, review, and share us wherever you get your favorite podcast: Google, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, at Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves. Become a producer at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. You can also find a tier where you get your interviews ad-free and before anybody else with athletes and celebrities. That's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And of course, you can rep us by buying some swag at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have a bunch of cool designs and stuff for you to check out. teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. I also want to make a quick note really fast. I want to send out all the love and support for anybody affected by the recent looting here in Chicago. There's some turmoil in our city. I just want everybody to know that we love you here and we love our city, and we will be there to help clean up and, as always, rebuild the greatest city in the world, Chicago. Enjoy the games, be safe, take care of each other. We will see you next time here on Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves.
Hey guys, Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. We want to thank you so much for all the support you've given us here on the network. And if you want to see what we're up to outside of the station, please follow us all over social media. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media and on Instagram at Mike Mercado Media. You can follow the good brother Alex Mercado on Twitter at Mercado21Alex and on Instagram at Mercado2121. The lovely Nicole Mancha is on all social media platforms at Typing When Tipsy. You can follow the network on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Our pop culture show, The Good Brothers, on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. Our true crime shows on Instagram at Murder, Mysteries, and More. And of course, like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all our videos on YouTube.com/Mike Mercado 2333 or by searching Mercado Airwaves Network. We play video games on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. And of course, you can support our network by finding a tier just for you, whether you want early access, you want to be part of polls, you want to win contest prizes, by visiting us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And we really appreciate it wherever you get your favorite podcast to like, rate, review, and share us. And please spread the word. For the good brother, Alex Mercado, for the lovely Nicole Mancha, I'm Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for all the support you've given us here on the network.